Hey there YouTube, Mary Pie here. So, taking a little break from the more complicated redstone to take a look at how to use pistons creatively. Since Mahjong is pretty close to actually implementing pistons, supposedly it's going to be coming in the 1.7 update. If you haven't seen the Pistons video, the official Pistons video already, I'm going to add a link as an annotation to this video so that you can go take a look because it's pretty cool and it gives some pretty cool ideas. But I was inspired by watching one of Bear Ghost 78's videos that he posted of a contest entry that he had. He had a contest recently for people to submit ideas to add into his server's new town. And this wasn't the winner, but it was the runner-up, and I guess Bear Ghost thought it was good enough and creative enough that he would go ahead and add it in, irregardless of whether it won or not. And it was a really cool looking theater. It used a lot of cool ideas with dispensers. It had a very cool idea with skylights and using water to turn off those lights. Excuse me. So that the audience area would darken and the stage would stay lit so that your eye would be trained on the stage as opposed to trained in the audience, just like in a regular theater. You don't want to be seeing the guy sitting next to you who's, scratching himself. But what I was inspired by is it had a really cool backdrop for the theater. It was just made out of colored wool. It was a drawing of a landscape with a sun and a couple birds and stuff like that. And I thought, well, it's cool that he's got this static backdrop, but what if I tried to animate this backdrop? Have it as a loop, so that if the theater is trying to portray some sort of traveling scene, they can walk from one area to another, and the background will change to correspond to that without having some elaborate, without having them to destroy the background and then rebuild a new one. So I was inspired by this, and I was inspired by Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So if you've ever seen the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, some examples: Flintstones, the Jetsons, Tom and Jerry, and you ever paid attention to the backgrounds, what the animators would do is they would not actually have a long, detailed background sequence or cell. I don't know the animation terms. I'm not an animator. But they wouldn't have just a long strip from beginning to end for maybe some running segment that they had that lasted longer than 15 seconds, 30 seconds or so. What they would do is they would create a rather nondescript background that would loop over and over and over during this running sequence. So they wouldn't have to worry about creating some extremely long strip. They just create a small strip that loops. And so I thought, well, I can do that. I mean, mine's not going to be as perfect because I did want to show that it was looping. I didn't want people to look at this video and not see anything go on. But I just used that concept, that idea, and the theater idea to create this. And so let me go turn this on, and then we'll go take a look at what exactly it is doing. So if we look back again and watch, you see that the background is changing. Obviously it's a little glitchy. This is an unofficial mod as opposed to the official mod that Mojang's going to be releasing pretty soon. Whether they'll be able to fix these issues, I don't know. You can see whenever it shifts, the wall loses its color value and all turns to white, and there's also moments of see-through, of transparency, so that you can see the background. But it still works. I mean, obviously, I have a new scene right here. I have a sun showing, and if we sit here and wait for a little bit, we're going to come back to seeing the tree. And so it's pretty easy to implement. If somebody's ever tried messing with pistons before, they probably seen that you can move a block in a circle. And that's all this concept is. It's just, I guess, using it a little more creatively. You have different towers of pistons that move in sequence to shift these different stacks of colored wool. So, the way this works, when I press that button, it turns on this system. Though, probably the only thing that could possibly be difficult about this is you have to realize that you need your redstone to be running in the opposite direction of your background. So right now I have my background rotating clockwise. As you can see, it's rotating. It goes like this. And so my redstone needs to rotate counterclockwise, because here, let me turn this off. This is very early prototype, so I didn't make it that difficult or that involved. So how this works is you create your background. You create your long strip of a background. So say I made a background that looked something like and then I'll put maybe yellow right here. Background that looks something like this. Okay, and this is what I want my whole loop to be. Well, I just find the middle point, I cut down, and then whatever side I want to be showing first, I place in the front, and I place the this side on the back running. So if we think of this as pointing to the right, I just need to make sure that I flip it and now point it to the left. So I put one right here, one right there, right there, right there, right there. So I just folded it in on itself. And so then you have your background. And what needs to happen is when you set up your pistons right here, you set up your pistons right here, right here, right here, and right here. I'm not going to turn them and bother with that. But you set it up so that this would push this background part to here. Then since there'll be a gap now here, this part needs to push its wool to this area. Well, now there's going to be a gap right here, so this part needs to fill that gap. Well, gap right here is then filled by this gap right there, or that piston right there. So if we reconnect and show it working from above, that's all it's doing. So hope you enjoyed this. Keep subscribing, keep liking. I'm probably gonna try to give this as a video response to that preview or that view of the what's it called, of the theater, because I think it'd be pretty cool for Bear Ghost to implement into his version of the theater if he wants. I'm also actually thinking about seeing if I can have sort of a sun and a moon that you can change to come in and out of frame if you want. It's all fairly simple piston mod designs, but I haven't messed with pistons at all, so I wanted to see what all I can do. So thanks, and until next time.